Hello and welcome back to the Knitting Page podcast. If you're new here, my name's Paige and I am the face behind the Knitting Page. So today I have a regular podcast episode for you. I have podcast number 15, and today I'm going to talk about finished objects and works in progress, and sometimes I talk about acquisitions, but today I don't have any because I am really trying hard not to buy any new yarn for this summer season. So let's get into it. Today I am wearing my finished object, and this is the Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller, who is also handmade by Florence, and this was a test knit, and I am really happy with the finished object of this camisole. So this camisole is knitted top down. You begin with a back panel where you do this lovely mixed rib pattern, and I'll bring it a little closer, but as you can see, the mixed rib is a mix of regular rib as well as some twisted rib stitches, which I think gives it a really elegant, nice look. I also do really love the high neck feature of this camisole. I am a huge fan of high neck, high cut tops. I think they're really elegant. I think they are modest and work appropriate. And I think that they are very wearable. This is quite bra friendly. I have it in a crisscross method, which I found a little better. I find sometimes when I have it just straight back that my straps kind of slip off my shoulder, and I found myself needing to tuck it, so I switched it to the crisscross method, and I think there's a little bit peeking out here, but for the most part it is fairly bra friendly. This pattern should hopefully be out super soon. You can follow Florence on Instagram and on her Ravelry to check, but I know that her plan is to have it out ASAP, but like all of us, life is busy, and a lot of us just podcast and talk as a passion project rather than a full-time career. So this is the Mixed Rib Cami. As I mentioned, you start at the back, knit the little back panel, and then you pick up at the front, knit the front, join in the round, and then keep knitting the body. So as you are knitting the top part before you join in the round, you are knitting back and forth, which means that you're doing, this is half twisted rib. So you're twisting your knit stitches and twisting your purl stitches. I personally do not mind knitting twisted knit, but twisted purl is definitely a bit more finicky for me. I do a mix of continental and English style knitting. I typically knit all of my stitches continental, but then for purling, if it's just in another project I'll show you, it's a 3x3 rib, and I knit continental for all of that. In cardigans, I will often knit continental across and then purl English back. For this, I just did what when it was knit on the right side, I could continental the whole thing, but on the wrong side, because I was doing those twisted purl stitches, I switched to English style. Now, I believe Florence in her podcast talked about her twisted stitches leaning different directions based on when she had it knitting flat versus knitting in the round. I personally didn't find an issue with mine, at least as I'm looking now. I don't really see any. Oh, I should also mention the yarn that I knit this in is cotton merino by Knitting for Olive in the colorway Dusty Banana, to get on that butter yellow trend. Yellow is also my favorite color, and this is the first yellow garment I've knitted and the first Knitting for Olive finished garment I've completed, and I see why it is so popular, and I definitely would like to knit more garments in it, prioritizing things that I already have in my stash. But getting back to this tank top, I found that once I joined in the round that it knit really quickly, especially in comparison to how slow, for me at least, the twisted purl stitches are. Twisted knit stitches, just knitting through that back loop, I find is really easy in comparison to doing the twisted purl, where you have to kind of flip up this the stitch and get your needle in there. I find that the purl, at least the knit stitch, is just and then it's good. Let me kind of scooch I'm like trying to show you. Maybe I will film something that shows you properly, but as you can see, I'm awkwardly standing, but it is a great length. I'm wearing high-waisted shorts and it covers the top of my high-waisted shorts. Let me move this back. And I did find that it grew with blocking, and then with wear, it's widened again. And I did do, I don't know if you can see. You can see here, I did do maybe this side. I've been not camping. I have been running in the trails and I've been attacked by black flies, which is what all of these bug bite marks are. But I did some decreases to do some waist shaping. And I did the maximum number of decreases, which takes me from the stitches that you cast on under the arm back down to the number that's in the twisted rib pattern. So very glad I did that, especially since it has widened with wear. But if you've knit with Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino, maybe you can like jump in on here. I feel like it's just the yarn, because it has such a high plant fiber base, 70% cotton and 30% merino, that it's just naturally going to stretch. And it does, compared to the tops I've knit in 100% cotton, it does have more give in terms of it coming back to its shape, but there is 70% cotton. And so I do think that it's going to flare a little more than your 100% merino tank tops. I overall don't mind it. I still think that it's super wearable, and it hasn't widened to the point where it's like shrunk a lot in terms of size. One thing I might experiment with is hanging it. I know you're not supposed to hang your knits, but I want to block it once and hang it just to see if it gives me a bit more length. I did make changes, which I believe Florence has changed in the pattern, to the pickup rate, because you pick up for I-cord on the collar neckband, as well as, I don't know why I said that, as well as along the armholes. Yes, I was about to say armpits, but that's not the thing I wanted to say. As well as along the armholes. And I did the same rate for both the neck and the armhole, even though they were initially supposed to be different. But I have ran into some issues in the past where my armholes will be so gapy and that they wind up going past where my bra is, and I don't like that. And so I wanted to make sure that this one did sit up, but also that it wasn't like, you know, so high up that it was in my armpit. And I think that this is like a perfect length. Oh, and I'm trying to think. I think I did 3 out of 4 on the pickup rate. It's either 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 3. Oh, I'll put it below whichever one it was, because I need to look back at my notes, which I don't. My notes are on my phone, which is what I'm using to record. But I did the same pickup rate for the arms and the neckband, even though I think some other testers did a tighter pickup rate on the neckband and a looser one on the armpit. I did the same. I kept it simple, and I think that it worked out like really nicely. I already want to cast this on again. I really want to do like a neutral color, like a light gray / like cream white color in a merino, because I think that would just be really wearable, and do that in the fall. And or I also have some Knitting for Olive merino in the colorway Soil, which is like this really lovely brown color, and I could see myself knitting that this fall and having a nice like knit camisole for the fall. But overall, it was a really lovely knit. I think it's really wearable. I've talked about it in my summer 2024, if I had unlimited times plans video, that I'm trying to knit more fingering weight garments, because I just find them very wearable. They're not too thick. They look, and I feel like they don't, I don't know, sometimes when it's like a really chunky knit, I like the finished object high of finishing it quickly, but I don't like the actual look of it that much. Like, it's too chunky for me. Where the fingering weight ones, I just find them really wearable, and that they just hang nicely on your body, which I appreciate. But overall, yeah, the pattern was, I think Emily from High Fiber Knits talked about this, but like, it wasn't the most hand-holding pattern, and I think if you've knit a lot, like, you can go through it without having any questions. The one, I guess, thing that I wound up doing was, for when you're casting on stitches and increasing for the underarm, it doesn't tell you whether you should continue the pattern or whether you should keep it in stockinette. And I initially started increasing to do it in pattern and continue the rib, but that's not what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be all stockinette and then decrease. So if you look closely on one of my armpits, you can see that there's like 2 rows of purl bumps where I increased, purled, and then I realized my mistake. But at this point, I was like, I don't want to go back and rip out those 2 rows because it's under my armpit and I'm going to be picking up for I-cords anyways. And so I don't think anyone's going to see. But if you do knit this, when you do your increases for under the armpit, know that it is increased and then you keep doing it in stockinette. And your whole under the armpit is stockinette. So you have these like stockinette panels at the side of your body, unless you decide to do the decreases, and then you can decide how big you want the panels. I made my panel go back down to the width of the regular stockinette rib piece in the rib. Other people have kept it larger. To each their own, whatever suits you. I also, another thing that I didn't do was the bind off was for a surprisingly stretchy bind off. Excuse me. And I did a few stitches of it in pattern, which, anyways, maybe I wasn't supposed to do it in pattern. I think some people just did it stockinette. I guess there's another thing that wasn't super clear. Anyways, I did not like the look of it. It looked really messy and I didn't want to have to cast off, block it, and have it be too big. And in the past, I've had some great results with just doing a regular bind off for my ribbed camisoles and having it be wide enough to still get over my head, as well as look clean and polished. And so I did a loose bind off in pattern, just a regular knitted off pattern, or a regular knitted off bind off in pattern, which is not what the pattern called for. Communicated that to Florence and in the test group. But I think it's fine. It looks fine. But yeah, really, really loved this test knitting experience. This is going to be the last test knit I do for a while. This summer, I just want to focus on knitting patterns that I want to knit. Not that I don't want to knit test knits, but I just want to, I have a whole like queue of patterns on Ravelry that I really want to knit. And I feel like last summer especially, I got so carried away with test knits that I didn't knit anything that was in my queue because I just knit test knits. Which I also bought yarn for test knits, and I don't want to buy yarn. I just want to use what I have in my stash to knit the projects that I've bought the yarn for, so that's the plan. But aside from the plan, this is the only finished object that I have this week, and I've been trying to go at a slower rate in terms of projects that I have on the go, and I'm having 2 on the go. I have 2 on the go currently, and I am planning to keep it at like a 2 or 3 kind of situation. But before I get talking about my whips, sorry if this is all over the place, I definitely have a bit of a scattered brain with me moving in 2 days, and I'm just gonna roll with it because I am trying to post on regular schedule, which means that I just gotta sit down and film and not make excuses. And if they're not perfectly seamless, that is okay because I am human and I'm not always perfectly seamless. But the other thing that I want to say before I move on to my whips is that with the cotton merino, I don't know if you can see, but like there's some stitches, sorry if that was like a little close and personal, but there's some stitches where like my tensioning isn't super consistent. And I feel like this happens all the time, but with like merinos and larger gauges that it blocks out a little better. I personally don't mind it. I think it gives it kind of like a nice summer feel. And like when I'm looking at it, like as I'm looking at myself in the camera, I can't really notice what's going on. It's only when I'm like, oh, that one stitch like 6 rows down in the center right panel is a little looser than the other ones. What happened there? It's a handmade garment. I am not an expert, experienced knitter that has 50 years of experience behind me. I have sporadically knit for 20 years of my life, and this is, anyways, some of my stitches aren't perfectly, doesn't look like a machine knit it because a machine didn't need it. Although I've sometimes been referred to as a machine, I am a human. I don't know. Oh, okay. But yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to say is that like there is some, I guess, tension issues with, not issues, but there's some tension inconsistencies in the odd place here and there. Part of that was probably because I knit it on different days and I had different stress levels and I was doing different things and I was distracted and I was knitting on a bus because I was supervising a track meet or supervising. I should say I was coaching at the track meet. I was supervising the tennis meets. But I think also just the cotton merino is a light fingering. I think if you knit with like more of a true fingering where you're getting that like 100 grams, or not 100 grams, 50 grams to, yes, 50 grams to 200 meters versus 50 to 250, that you will get a bit of a fuller yarn that can fill in some of those gaps, if that makes sense. I guess I could have also sized down a needle size to 2.75 millimeter needles because I knit this on 3 millimeter needles, and I could honestly entertain that. I have a set for the next one that I knit, but overall I'm so pleased with this top and it feels so perfect for summer. I wore it out today when I did some of my errands and I was packing and sweating in it, and it's held up really good. That I'm super pleased with it, and I think that this will probably be one of the most wearable tops that I've made for myself. I find my sweaters and my cardigans get a lot of wear, but my summer tops tend to not get a lot of wear. But this is one where I'm like, I want to wear you a lot. And I also love that it's in this yellow color. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this top. Whew, that was kind of a lot. And we're going to move on to my whips. So the first whip that I would like to talk about is my Vienna blouse. In my last podcast, I talked about this blouse, and I also asked about some input from you guys. It's supposed to look like this. This is the original Vienna blouse. I'm going to modify this guy quite a bit. And I'm knitting this in Noro Sonata, which I think I threw a yarn tag in here because it has a really interesting fiber blend, and I forget it, but it was one that when I read the yarn tag, I was like, this sounds really lovely and I really want to knit with it. And I also love this color story, and I feel like it is finally showing up nicely. When I was filming in the basement, it was hard to see how beautiful this is. And I will hold it up even more. So hopefully you saw a bit how it has like that like bluey gray kind of intertwined and not marled, but like mixed, I guess, with this like nice cool brown color. I think it's really, really beautiful. And the fiber composition, which is what I started talking about, is 35% cotton, 25% viscose, 20% silk, and 20% polyamide. So it's this beautiful, drapey, lovely summer fiber. And I don't know, I've been into browns a lot. I'll just try it on because I can do that because it's a little cardigan thing. And I think it's going to be really nice. I was at, okay, I guess I got one thing in my acquisitions. I bought a pair of needles because I sat on my 4 millimeter needles, and my Eva cardigan has not been worked on since because the one needle's broken because I sat on it. And this is from like the fall. Anyways, I went to go buy a new needle and show the lovely women at Yarn It my projects. But this, I think, will just be such a cute little blouse. The construction of this blouse was also really interesting. I guess sometimes I knit garments for the construction, but most times when I knit garments, it's just because I just want that garment. And that was kind of the case with this one. I really wanted a tie front blousey top, and I bought this book, which is 2302 by Sandnes Garn, for this blousey top. And I didn't want to do it in double-stranded mohair because I like mohair, but mohair is also quite expensive, and I'm trying to work with what I have. And I bought this beautiful yarn not fully knowing what I wanted to do, but knowing that I wanted to knit a summer top with it. And I was going to knit the Maggie cardigan by Petite Knit, and then I decided that the Vienna blouse would also be really lovely. And I was at H&M when I was killing time in the mall, getting this new phone that I'm filming on, and I saw this shirt at H&M, and I was like, I love that. And the detail that I really love about this particular shirt, which I didn't try on, but I kind of wish I did now, is that the peplum, like there is in this top, is knit, or it's not knit, it's a seam machine made top. But the peplum is one continuous piece of fabric rather than it being like a little cardigan like it is in this blouse. And that is what I decided I'm going to do. But I was talking about construction, so I'm going to go back to construction. This has, I want to say it's called a contiguous saddle shoulder construction, but you cast on your set number of stitches and then you do increases on either side of your little saddle shoulder. And in this case, it is quite small. In other, other saddle shoulders, they're like the type, but this one is quite thin. And you do increases to form the front panel, increases to form the like back armhole section, and then you go to the other side and do increases and increases. And then you actually leave the stitches live for when you go and pick up the sleeves to go. You don't have to like pick up those stitches from the saddle shoulder, you just get to thread your needle through them. And then you knit down and you do increases for the armholes, and then on both sides, then you join in the round and you just knit back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then where I'm at is I'm deciding, so I've knit one other top in a Noro yarn before, and it was the Alice top. And this bad boy grew a lot with blocking. And when I was at Yarn It today, they had a lovely top in the Noro Sonata yarn, and I asked the owner and I was like, did it grow a lot? And she was like, oh yeah. And so I don't want to knit this too long to the point where like my peplum is like really low. And so I honestly might cast off in like a couple rows or two, or like a few rows, because I don't want it to be too long. But you cast off and then you pick up stitches for the peplum. Now here's my other wondering, is if I cast off stitches, you're supposed to cast off or pick up like along the, pick a side. I guess you'd probably go from the right to left to pick up your stitches for the peplum, and then you increase out for the peplum. Because I want to knit it all in the round and have it be like a pullover rather than a cardigan tie front, I'm wondering if I should put a marker in the back and have that be my pickup so that I have to join, and then I'm like, my cast off sew in the end area and weave in the ends will be at the back of the top, which I care less about. Or do I just keep doing it in the front and join, and then there's already going to be like an I-cord edge along the side and ties that maybe you won't necessarily notice because it joins in that I'm weaving in my yarn there for the peplum. As I'm saying that second option out loud, it really doesn't sound that bad, and it involves me counting fewer stitches. But I am really excited to see this grow. The other thing that I talked about in my last podcast episode, was that I wasn't sure if I wanted to, keep it long sleeve or do the short sleeve, like a lot of the like top inspiration that I've been seeing. And I think every single person that commented an opinion, which thank you everyone that did, it really makes my day when you're like, hey, I think you should do this. Or really anytime someone interacts with my video, it just like brings a smile to my face. And also based off this like H&M top, I'm gonna stick with the short sleeve shirt. Now, the one thing that I'm debating about is the sleeve type that I want. In this, you can see that it's like, there's a lot of decreases that go on to have it be like a nice tapered sleeve. I do not want this to be tapered. I think I want it to be like a big boxy fit, not too long. I know one top had like the cinched in detail. I don't know if I'm fully feeling the cinched in one. I kind of like a oversized boxy fit in a lot of my t-shirts, and so I think I'm gonna try to channel that, but I haven't actually knit a boxy t-shirt, I don't think, before, so I'm not sure if I should just, I feel like honestly if I pick up all of these stitches, and knit out. Do you think I should do like short rows here to like give it some shape? I've done that before in a t-shirt. But I kind of want it to be like the tee. You know what? I like the tied loop tee and I own that pattern. I'm curious to know what the construction of that sleeve is. Obviously, I would omit the texture detail, but something like that I feel like would be really lovely for the sleeves. Just like a nice flowy sleeve, and then finishing with a like a double folded stockinette hem, I think would look really beautiful, and it would also match the hem on the bottom of the peplum. But yeah, I don't really like knitting. Okay, I don't mind cardigans knitting back and forth, but when I made the ruffle cardigan and I had to knit back and forth with like a bajillion stitches, the purl rows were like, ugh. And I'm gonna be doing online teaching for July, and I also just find mindless stockinette to be like a great social knitting thing, and I'm planning on going to a few knit circles when I move to Halifax. Anyways, I want a nice stockinette piece because the other piece that I'm about to show you does not have stockinette, and I'm trying not to cast on anything else until I finish one of these, and then I will allow myself to cast on something else. The exception, well, yeah, I'll just say that. So this is my Vienna blouse, and I really, really love the way it's shaping up. I was kind of nervous about, because I don't have the skein anymore, but when you look at the skein, or even when you look at it like in a cake, let me just wrap it up. It's hard to tell how it will knit up. And so there is some color pooling on the front panels, but I think that it doesn't, I think it looks nice and that it complements each other, even though they're not identical. So I was kind of worried about that when I started knitting it, and I was like, oh, like, you know, you have these bands of like gray and you get more brown pooling, but I think it does look really lovely. And it's going to be a really unique piece that I'm really pleased with how it's been knitting up. And I should also say this is exactly one ball of Noro Sonata. And where did I put that little tag? This is a really, you get a lot of yardage for what it is. It's like a sport weight, but it's 100 grams for 360 meters. So that's close to a fingering weight, but it definitely knits up heavier than a fingering. And it's a Noro yarn, so like there are sections of the yarn where I guess you could say it's like slubby, like where it goes thin and then a little bit thicker. I don't know, I really love Noro, and I think it's so satisfying to knit those like thicker slubby sections. I always get so excited when I like see one coming up. I'm like, oh, I get to knit it. But anyways, this is my Vienna blouse, and the next time we talk, which I'm trying to film podcasts every 2 weeks, it could be done, or it will definitely have the peplum started, because I want to do the peplum before I do the sleeves, partially because I don't necessarily know how I'm going to do the sleeves, because I feel like I don't have a lot of knowledge in terms of like my own construction of tops or of any knitting pattern for that sake. And I do rely on patterns a lot to knit my garments, even though sometimes I, you know, have my own creative juices flowing, such as this will be the top that I've modified the most based off the pattern, but I think it will be a nice little knit that, again, I think I will be able to get, I think it will look cute, you know, like, actually, let me just try it on this way. Because like stop. I love this. I think it's so beautiful, but I'll show you why I'm trying it on this way. If you've watched my other podcast, you'll be like, yeah, we get it, Paige. We know why you're trying that on. But if you're new, because there are some new people here. Hello, what's up? I see you. You can wear it multiple ways. And I am obsessed with this, because who doesn't love a versatile piece? But you can wear it with the bows at the front, or you can wear it with the bows at the back. And I think that's really lovely. And I've only actually tried it on like a vest, like the other way that I had it on. But I think this is really beautiful. I like this. I like this a lot. And I'm so happy that I recorded this little reaction on my podcast for the first time, because this is nice. Is it not nice? I think this is really nice. So I'm excited to watch this come to fruition. Okay, I've talked a lot. We're moving on to the next one, which I will talk a little less about because I don't need your input, but I need input on the sleeves. How you think I should construct these nice, like, flowy, boxy sleeves, like the tied loop tee or like the tee number 1, but I really don't want to buy any more patterns because I've got a lot that I already need to knit. But yeah, nice, flowy, boxy sleeve is what I'm looking for. Okay, the next pattern that I am knitting is the square neck camisole, and this is a pattern that has been on my like want to knit list for a really long time. Isn't she beautiful? Isn't she? I know. And my necklace is backwards, but let me show you the inspiration for this. Look how pretty this little sun is that I was gifted as a thank you gift from the house team I worked with. And look how it's like they were made for each other. But this is the square neck camisole by Garn Slicked, and I don't know, I'm in my ribbed camisole era apparently, but I love square neckline, and part of me was like, do I knit another oh my gosh, let's try that again. Do I knit another mixed rib camisole for this necklace? But I think, like, you know, like if it was like this and the necklace on top, like that's a lot, but like when it's down here and you get like the nice open neck, shoulder, chest, the nice open chest with this beautiful blue, I think that's gonna be so lovely. And so this is the yarn. Also, let me just hold this up for you. Do you see how there are like little flecks of purple in it? It's just so, so beautiful. Like, here's the cake. Do you see the little flecks of purple? It's so beautiful. It's like this little pendant that I have on, and it's gonna be so pretty. And yes, okay, so this is also a top-down camisole, and I started this in that Knitting for Olive soil, and I frogged it. I'm gonna do a frog it or finish video once I move because I got a lot of whips, but they all actually fit in my one picnic basket, which I was pretty happy with. They can all be contained and hidden, but I do want to finish them. But anyways, frogged the other one that I was working on because all I had was one strap. But why I was going to talk about that is I just find the strap so annoying to knit, but I got through it. I think she's really lovely. I'm excited to do the double knitting. I just bought one ball. Oh, by the way, this is Meadow by the Fibre Co, and it is a really lovely blend of, I don't have the yarn tag with me, but let's see if I remember, and if I make a mistake, I'll put on the proper thing at the bottom. But it is a blend of, I believe, llama, linen, silk, maybe cashmere, merino, or maybe it's just those ones. I'm gonna have to put it down here because I messed up. But it's definitely llama, linen, and silk. And there might be a fourth one in there, but it's really beautiful. And it's like a light fingering, heavy lace weight. And in 100 grams, you get 500 meters. So it's like 2 Knitting for Olives, or like 2, you know, your basic light fingering. And I want to just use all of it up. So my plan is to keep knitting, and then soon, honestly, sooner than later, I'm going to use the other end of the ball, and I'm going to start doing the double knitting. And then I'll finish the double knitting, and then I'll just keep going from the outside around and around and around and around until I get to either the end of the ball or to a length that I like. And I feel like I'll probably just knit to the end of the ball because I don't like my camisoles too cropped. And I think this is gonna be really beautiful. And it's like, I don't know. I made my like little mood board, which I'll talk about in my upcoming realistic 2024 summer knitting plans, but it kind of reminds me of the ocean, which I also really love because I'm moving to the ocean. But this is what I'm hoping. If you've knit this pattern before, maybe I am following the instructions wrong and it just looks kind of not that clean because I didn't do the instructions. Or maybe it's just gonna block out, but I'm doing the decreases because I like there to be an equal amount of ease throughout my tops, and I don't like it to be like pulled up here and then like really loose and flowy down here. I want it to be like all the same ease. But I feel like some of these decreases don't look super smooth and neat, like this one right here. And so I'm hoping that that blocks out, but I don't know. So if you've knit this top before and you did the decreases, did it block out? I haven't been following it in pattern. I've just been decreasing, like, as a knit stitch because that's what the pattern told me to do. But maybe I was supposed to decrease in pattern. And if I was, we're just gonna roll with it. Again, it's like, it's along the side of my body, and I feel like my arms, my armpit, like, if people are inspecting my armpits and like the side of my body under my armpit, I feel like I've got bigger problems than whether or not my knit stitches are really crisp and clean. So the other thing is like some of the rib, you can see that like the tensioning issue is, or like some of the stitches aren't super tensiony well, but I think like honestly if I go like this and just like pull it and like loose, like, you know, like get the stitches to kind of go like this and like readjust. I don't know, that's what I picture them doing. They're like, woo! And then they like all like settle back again. I feel like it makes a difference in how neat they look. And I also think because this has some llama and maybe merino, definitely has llama though, that I think it'll block out. And the owner of Vienna, Kathy, she told me that she thinks it's going to block out too. And I mean, even if it doesn't block out, like I said, it's going to be like stretched on my body. And like, if you're looking from this far away, which like, I don't think most people are going to be like, that stitch is out of tension. What happened there? I think it's going to be okay. But this is my other work in progress, and that's it. That's all. Yeah, the only other thing that I bought, oh, I guess I took them out of my bag, but I bought some Chiagu red lace needles in 4mm because I use 4mm a lot, and I really love the Chiagu sets. I love my interchangeables. I have the Lika shorties and the Haya like long tip bamboo ones. Both of them are really lovely, and I love them a lot. But I also, there's something so nice about knitting with sometimes the thing unravels, and I don't love that. So yeah, bought a new 4mm needles because I sat on my Haya bamboo ones, and I didn't want to order a new set of those. I will at some point, but my local yarn shops don't carry them, and I hate paying for shipping. So yeah, at some point I will get replacements because the Haya bamboos are so lovely to knit with. I think I prefer them over the Likas, but the reason I love the Likas is because the shorties can do sleeves without magic loop. But I think I like the longer 5-inch tips for doing most of my knitting. It's less like ouchy on the hands. But yeah, okay, that's it. I'm a little all over the place today, and that's okay. We're just taking a break from packing right now. We're gonna film this, and we're gonna edit it and have it up for next week when you see this, which will hopefully be like Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere in that timeline. And then in the pipeline, if you're still watching, I've got my Frogger finish video, my actual summer 2024 plans where I took some of your input. I'm trying to create a lovely color story and not just go and just knit whatever. I'm trying to like, I want to make it like nice and aesthetic, and I have the yarns to like do that, and it's what I'm vibing with. And I also am going to have a yarn stash organization video where I'm going to talk about the yarns that I have, how I'm organizing them, and I also really want to input all that information into Ravelry. That'll be another video. And yeah, that's like 3 videos. My July 3-2-1 video will be coming out as well. So we might be posting on a little quicker than a once per week for the summer, because I feel like that's when I have my time to film, because I'm a teacher and I'm teaching this summer for one course, but then I have a lot of time off compared to my regular teaching life. And so we're going to be doing a lot of knitting, a lot of filming. We're like gonna really channel the knitting page and see what she can do and embrace it and stick to filming videos, even if they're a little all over the place, because yeah, that's it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be me, to show up as me. So, okay, I think I need to stop talking and go back to packing and working on my course for my little grade 9 geographers. So, till next time, you will see me. This is the last time I will be filming in Ontario for a while. I'm going back to visit my parents in August, where I'll probably film 1 or 2 videos there, but yeah, the next time you see me, I will be in Halifax in my new space, which, based off of the FaceTime video, has a lot of lovely natural lighting, such as the school library that I'm currently filming in. But okay, till next time, see ya.